Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's edition of SIG Node. It is Tuesday, July 27th, 2021. Sergey, do you want to start us off with PR status?
Yeah, definitely. So if you didn't watch what PRs was this week, you can look at the agenda document, and there is a nice summary. We actually merging some PRs these days. So it's good. And most of the closed PRs are self-closed and not rotten PRs. So it's a good state when we are not getting PRs rot, and I'm super glad about it. So yeah, if you're interested in looking at that, obviously we're in code freeze and test freeze, so there will be not that many PRs being merged these days. So yeah, we're growing on PRs.
I think a bunch of them are backports to the 122 branch too. So anything right now that is hitting master, if you want it to go into 122, must be backported. Which I guess brings us to our next announcements. For 122, doc freeze is today. So if you have documentation for your PR, I believe, or so it's for your CAP feature, that kind of thing, I believe your PR has to be merged by end of day today. So please make sure that you go over and are being responsive to SIG docs if this is a requirement for your particular feature. And the next thing on the agenda is me. 122 burnt down. We have 2 release blockers, so I thought maybe it might make sense to talk about them a little bit. I can share my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Great. So we have 2 open. I will look at this one first. I believe this is a SIG storage issue, but I threw SIG Node on here to make sure that we are keeping an eye on it. I think this is related to Clayton's refactor. Oh, and it looks like there was a PR that was just merged. So we will see, I guess, where this one goes. But it looks like there's lots of activity since yesterday, which is great. The other is this kubelet serial failures. We were seeing that we were running out of disk space on a bunch of these, so in part because this static disk hog test was failing. So I think Clayton is assigned to this one and looking into it, as it looks like it is related to a refactor that landed relatively late in code freeze. Are there any other release blocking issues that we should cover today? There's actually a link for everything in the milestone. This is the list. Peter, are you on the call? Peter Hunt. Looks like no.
Hi, yes, I am on the call.
You're here, you're just muted.
Sorry.
Okay, cool.
I was,
do you know what's going on with this cryo flake? I think this might actually no longer be a flake. I think it's a failing test now.
Yeah, I think it's a perma-failing, and no, I don't know. I haven't had a moment to look at it. I think yeah.
Great. And then I think that we may punt this one, and this one will probably get punted. So I think it's just those 3 that are still on deck, and we don't have PRs open from what I can see, so still work to be done. I think our tentative release date is next Wednesday. It's the 4th, so yeah, next Wednesday. So still some work to be done, but please make sure that you're keeping an eye on these issues and PRs. Any questions about 122 burn down or what's going on with release blockers? Sounds like no. Next item on the agenda, we have Adrian. We don't have a lot of CAP approvers here today, if any. I think we don't have either Don or Derek. So
yeah, I just saw it also, but I just wanted to highlight it here. I bring it up next week. I work with Derek and Ronald to update the CAP, answer a lot of open questions, and I'll just move it to next week. Okay, thanks.
And your audio is a little bit garbled.
No, sorry.
We'll move this to next week.
Do you want to give a short description of what it is about, so people who on the call who are not familiar with that can give some review?
Okay, can you hear me better now, or is it still
no,
bad?
it's very, I don't know, there's like a lot of noise happening. I can understand you, but it's very noisy.
It's like you're speaking through a fan.
That's a very good description.
Is it now
I
better?
do it for fun.
Yes, it's better.
Okay,
Yeah,
I
much
selected
better.
the wrong microphone. So, yes, so this is about introducing checkpoint restore. This was the basic discussion about getting container migration working at some point. And so this is just the initial step to get an understanding how it could look like, and with Derek and Ronal help, I think we are now at a point where the CAP is in a form where it could be merged so that we can continue working on it. So this is basically a document of I don't know, of understanding how it should look like once we start merging code. So one of the results from the discussion was once the CAP is merged, we want to do it in really small steps, because the proof of concept PRs I opened are really big, and the goal for the actual code to get into the kubelet and so on is to do it in small steps, to see how, if it works as expected in the proof of concept, it worked. But to make it easy on review, one of the results was make the actual code in small steps, and this CAP gives an overview how it should look like once it is finished.
And have you taken a look at what that might look like after the like plague refactor in 122?
No, I haven't touched the code in probably, I don't know, 4 months or so. I just focused on the CAP in the last few weeks, and I haven't rebased the code.
Okay. I would strongly recommend that, because
Okay.
Clayton basically rewrote the entire workflow, so it might be worth more.
Yes, but from what we discussed, the existing PRs will be just a starting point, and I will rewrite everything I have done anyway. So, but good to know that it will be different than what I have currently. Thanks.
Great. Thanks
Yeah,
for introducing that.
Yeah, I think last time the discussion was about pod lifecycle and how like pod will be restored on different node, if any. Is it resolved now? Is it part of a CAP now?
Yes. So we have some ideas how the pod lifecycle will look like. We went into discussion about init containers and sidecar containers, but I think one of the important results from a lifecycle point of view was that we want to store the checkpoint image will be stored in a registry, so we can transfer the checkpoint image. We do not need any local storage to move it from one node to another node. We will use a registry as the storage backend, and the life cycle as it is described currently in the CAP is basically we say we can checkpoint a container as long as it does not touch external devices like GPUs or InfiniBand or SRIOV things at any point once the init container has finished running, and when we restore it, it will continue run at that point on the same node or another node.
Great, thank you for update. I will read it.
I'm briefly skimming through the CAP, and is this a case where you're actually checkpointing the running containers image?
Yes, image.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, we checkpoint the processes, the memory pages of all processes,
Right.
and we take a diff from the OCI image. So whatever files have changed, we transfer, and whatever the process state is in, so memory pages and everything, that's what we transfer from one node to another node. If you talk about migration or if you talk about reboot, it will be available after the reboot again as it was before.
Okay. So related to this, I have a PR that's going on right now regarding resizing the pods in place. And there are a couple of things I've added as checkpoint as well. This is in the status. I think it might be worth skimming through the PR. I'll post the link in the chat.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Vinay, you're a master of smooth transition.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's the next item on the agenda. But before we go over to that one, are there any other questions about checkpoint restore cap?
I have to read through it a little bit to see how if these two can be combined a little. At least it needs to pick up some of the resources and store them when they move.
Okay.
It could help the resizing case. That's what I was looking at.
Sorry, somebody jumped in.
Hi, this is Marla. Also, I note that there's a CAP 2008 that links to this one. How are these related? Can you give any background?
Oh, maybe this is okay. This is the wrong. I linked the issue and not a cap. So I think each cap needs to have an issue. So I opened the issue and I first created the cap, then the issue, and I think I should have put the link to the cap in here and not to the issue, or I'm confused right now. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I added a reference to it for the PR at some point.
Okay.
So the PR is 1990.
Okay, thanks.
And 2008 is just the cap number now that we have an issue for it.
Okay, thanks for the clarity.
No problem. Put that in the notes. Any other questions on this? Sounds like no. Moving along. Vinay, do you want to talk about in-place pod vertical scaling?
Yeah, this is just a quick status update. I think we got some feedback. I got some feedback from the scheduling SIG way. And Wang Wei, I think he brought up some items that were overlooked earlier. So the scheduling changes to the scheduler is going to be somewhat bigger than I initially, that single file, couple of lines that I initially imagined. So they were wondering if they're okay with either ways, but they would like to have a separate PR for the scheduler changes that goes in, on quick succession to the main PR that we have in work right now. Would that be okay with you, or release management, or do you prefer to?
I think it's better to not try to do one mega massive PR.
Right.
The only thing is, like if, for example, it does not land, then only say one of the PRs have merged, then we do have to back out anything that's merged. So it's either it's all got to go or none of it's got to go. So the earlier that it merges in the 123 release cycle, the less likely that would happen, and probably the better.
Okay. So I'll take that as a maybe, and as in you have no strong objection to doing that, and we might just break it out into a separate PR so that it's easier for them to review and they don't have to look at all the other code, and it just goes on top of the existing. And since we're planning to get in pretty early, we should be good on that. I started working on the changes that Lantau suggested, and I'll probably have questions for him as I progress. I understand the plug. I'm understanding the plug changes, really how it works.
Yeah, feel free to ping me on Slack if you have any question.
Yeah, will do. Thanks, Lanta. That was all from me, unless somebody had questions. Okay.
Great. Do we have any other business? That's the end of our scheduled agenda items for today. Don't be shy. It's a small SIG Node meeting today. Going once. Going twice. I think let's call it for today. Thanks everybody for joining, and good luck with getting everything in before code freeze.
Thank
you.
you.
Cheers,
Bye.
everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye, folks.